When the first rays of the summer sun kissed the dusty windows of the old family house on Willow Lane, Emily and Lily were just 11 and 9, respectively, their world a gentle blend of schoolyard chatter, bedtime stories, and the constant, comforting hum of their mother's laughter. Their mother, Anna, was a single mother who worked 2 jobs: a nurse at the local hospital and a part-time caregiver for elderly patients. Her days were long and exhausting, but the evenings were filled with warmth, recipes shared over the kitchen table, and the simple joy of sisters holding hands while they watched the sun dip below the horizon. On a rainy Thursday in late September, a terrible accident shattered that fragile bubble. While driving home from work, Anna's car collided with a delivery truck that had skidded on the slick road. The impact was sudden. The world blurred into a cascade of shattered glass and screams. Emily and Lily were asleep in their rooms when the emergency lights flashed over the front of their house. Their mother did not survive. The next morning, a police officer and a paramedic stood before the sisters with the same expression that had haunted every sorrowful face in the town for years, one of profound loss and the cold, stark reality that no amount of love could bring her back. The world seemed to tilt. Their mother's absence left a chasm that swallowed not only the day-to-day chores, but also the very rhythm that had governed the family. Emily, who had always been the quiet one, found herself forced into a role she never imagined, that of a caretaker and a confidant. Lily, more outspoken and energetic, was the one who would fight for their future. The first weeks were an unsteady dance between grief and survival. The local community rallied, offering soup, blankets, and the occasional borrowed tool. But the day after their mother's funeral, Emily and Lily realized that the community's help could only go so far. The house needed repairs, the bills had piled up, and the 2 girls had to find a way to support themselves. The choice was clear: stay in Willow Lane and try to keep the family's life together, or leave in search of opportunities elsewhere. "We can't just leave the house," Lily insisted. "It's our family's home. We owe it to Mom." Emily nodded, feeling the weight of that promise, yet the realization that she would have to learn to cook, clean, and manage finances on her own, while Lily would have to balance school, part-time jobs, and an overwhelming sense of loss, pushed them both to the brink of despair. The turning point in their journey came when Lily stumbled upon an advertisement in the local newspaper: local community college scholarships for working students. The advertisement described a program that would allow students to work on campus while studying, covering tuition, meals, and housing. The catch: students needed to be at least 18, but Lily was just 17. Emily, who had never imagined herself a college student, also looked at the possibility of taking a scholarship that could help her both survive and build a future. "What if we apply?" Emily whispered. They began to fill out application forms together, the ink bleeding out under their trembling fingers. When the acceptance letter arrived in the mail, both girls stared at it as if it were a mirage. The letter was not only a promise of a future, but a tangible symbol that their mother's love and their shared resilience had not been in vain. Building a new life, the struggles won. The unseen battle with time. Life in Willow Lane had always been a balancing act: school, chores, and caring for their mother. Now the 2 had to juggle these responsibilities with new ones: attending community college, paying rent for the house, and trying to find time for each other. The night after their acceptance, Emily looked at the clock on the fridge and felt the heavy weight of the ticking second hand. She and Lily would be up late studying while the rest of the house slept. Lily would have to stay early in the morning to catch the first bus to campus, then rushed back home for the night shift at the local grocery store. The two sisters made a pact that night: "We will spend at least 20 minutes each day together, no matter how busy we get." The pact was small but powerful, and it anchored them through the hardest of days. 2. Money, the invisible scourge. The family's finances were already strained. After their mother's death, the emergency fund that had covered a few unexpected medical bills was now a dried-up puddle. Emily worked at a nearby factory, earning a modest wage, but the costs of food, utilities, and the high interest on the loan that had financed the house's repairs were endless. Lily, who had always been the more daring one, took up a job at the community college cafeteria. The job paid slightly more and allowed her to get a stipend for textbooks and housing on campus. But the two jobs left little time for rest or mental health. In the midst of this chaos, they decided to move back in with their Aunt Maria, who lived 2 miles away. Aunt Maria had a small rental property that had been available for years. By moving in with her, the sisters could cut down on their rent, and Aunt Maria would pay a modest rent for the house's upkeep. The move was bittersweet. Emily felt that the house on Willow Lane was where their mother's memories lived. But it was also an acknowledgement that the new life they were building would require sacrifice. 3. The burden of grief. It is not easy to live in a house that carries the smell of a beloved mother, the creaking of the floorboards that seem to whisper memories, and a constant, aching presence that lingers around the kitchen table. Emily and Lily were often caught in a cycle of sadness, as the house seemed to remind them of the woman they had lost. They found themselves crying during late-night conversations that seemed endless, but were filled with unspoken sorrow. One evening, Lily fell asleep in the living room, clutching a picture of their mother. Emily, who had been watching over her from the kitchen, felt a wave of guilt. She realized that the grief that they had shared was both a bond and a heavy burden. In time, they learned to talk about their mother's life instead of just her death. They would sit on the porch on the last day of the week, holding hands and remembering the smell of her cooking. They realized that grief was not a wound that needed healing, but a part of the process that would shape their new life. In this way, their mother became a guiding presence, not a dead weight. 4. The unexpected storm. A year after their acceptance to the community college, a sudden flood swept through the town. Heavy rains caused the river to rise, and the house on Willow Lane was flooded. Emily, who had never imagined the house in ruin, saw it from her window as a wall of water sloshing against the walls. The damage was extensive. The family's insurance only covered a small portion of the costs, and the remainder fell onto the shoulders of the sisters. They had to call their aunt and ask for help again, but this time it was different. They had no money to pay for the repairs, and they were at the peak of their studies and jobs. The flood was a stark reminder that the future would be unpredictable and that their resilience would need to be tested again. They reached out to a community disaster relief program, but the bureaucratic processes were slow, and the sisters had to wait for weeks. In the meantime, they lived in a rented cabin near the river, which was far away from their campus and job locations. Their school attendance was interrupted. Lily had to miss a week of classes, and Emily could not attend her part-time shift at the factory because of transportation difficulties. The experience was disheartening, but it also taught them about the importance of community. The neighbors, local businesses, and the university alumni network came together to donate supplies and time. They formed a group called Family United to help other families in need. The sisters were humbled by the support, but they also understood that their own journey would not be easy. 5. The breakthrough. Turning the pain into strength. During the difficult time after the flood, Lily started a blog titled Sisters Against the Storm. She wrote about her daily life, the obstacles she faced, and how they found ways to support each other. The blog gained a following from people who resonated with her story. Lily started offering online support groups for people who had experienced loss and had to rebuild their lives. Emily began teaching a free, informal study group for younger students who were struggling with financial hardship. Their newfound platform gave them a sense of purpose beyond their own grief. They realized that their struggle was not a unique tragedy, but part of a larger human experience. They began to see themselves as advocates for the underprivileged, building a community that extended far beyond the house on Willow Lane. The final chapter's graduation day 2 years after the flood, Lily and Emily, now 21, stood in front of a simple graduation ceremony. The auditorium was filled with families, teachers, and their supportive Aunt Maria. The principal handed Lily a diploma that bore the emblem of the community college and a silver ribbon for community service. Emily received a scholarship that would cover her final semester and a small stipend for living expenses. As Lily accepted her diploma, she turned to her sister, tears shimmering on her cheeks. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. Emily nodded, feeling her sister's strength surge through her. The moment was bittersweet. The sisters felt the presence of their mother in their hearts and the sense that their life had finally become a testament to the power of sisterly love. A new beginning after graduation, Lily chose to stay in the town and open a small boutique that sells handmade crafts. Emily took a job in a local bakery, combining her love for cooking and her newly found culinary talent. They had both found a way to transform their grief into purpose, and they were no longer just survivors, but creators of a new life. A few years later, they opened a small community centre, the Willow House, dedicated to providing support, resources, and shelter for single parents and orphans. They turned the old family house into a safe haven, ensuring that no one would have to feel alone as they had. Epilogue: the enduring legacy. On a clear autumn evening, Emily and Lily sat on the porch of the Willow House, watching the sun fade. They reminisced about their mother's laughter and the storm that had changed their lives. The house, which had once seemed like a memory of sorrow, now buzzed with life. They realized that their journey was not about conquering sorrow, but about honoring it by building something that could endure. When the wind whispered through the trees, the sisters whispered their thanks to the universe, the mother who had left them, and each other. They had built a life from the fragments of a broken world, proving that love could rebuild what was lost.